All right, guys, go ahead and stand on your feet, on your mat. Feet can be hip width apart, feet can be close together, whatever's close to you. Close to you. She's drooling. It's okay, baby. She can stay out here. It's fine. Hey, Ivy. So whatever's comfortable to you, whatever feels good, just go ahead and stand there. Tadasana. So see, some of you guys already are. Tadasana pose. It's just a standing mountain pose. Just how you would stand at the doctor's office to get an exam. You're literally just standing there, hands open. Body is relaxed. Hips are relaxed. Maybe even just kind of rolling those hips forward and back just to kind of loosen them up, pretending like your pelvic bones are a bowl full of some kind of liquid. And we don't want to tuck under too much, and we don't want to arch our back too much. We want to just kind of remain neutral. Shoulders are going to be rolled back. Proud chest, relaxed belly. And we're going to just take some deep breaths in. Inhaling through the nose. And exhaling through the nose. Or you can exhale through the mouth if that's more comfortable for you. Don't hyperventilate. Oh, there's a nice breeze. Oh, man. That's good. So let's take a moment to just kind of check in. Check in with ourselves. It's kind of like a roll call for your body. Checking to see how your neck and shoulders are doing. How am I doing in my chest and my arms, my lower back, my mid back? How are we doing in our hips, our knee joints? All the way down into the soles of our feet. Taking another deep breath in slowly. Allowing that belly to fill up with air, and then exhaling slowly until all that air is deflated out of the belly. Bringing our awareness into only our mat and only our body. Somehow it is a little bit easier to do that and become introspective when we're by ourselves, even if we see other people on the screen, than if we were in a class setting. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of that opportunity to be able to practice with others, but also know that you're by yourself and you can just really check in and be only with yourself on the mat. What is your intention for today? What are you hoping to gain in the next 55 minutes or so? Setting that resolve now so that you can revisit it later. Maybe just rocking forward and back on the toes and on the feet. Just kind of finding that awareness of their feet touching the mat. See what that feels like. Noticing all the nerves in the feet. How they react to us kind of rocking and keeping ourselves in balance. That's their job. They're going to make sure we stay standing. Rolling our shoulders up and back a little more dramatically than we did before. Really opening up that heart center. Really like overemphasizing that roll of the shoulders. And taking a deep breath in, bringing that right arm all the way up overhead. Sinking the right foot down into the floor, creating dynamic resistance between the ribs, separating the ribs, and opening up that chest and arm. And then opposite side comes up. Left arm is reaching. Sinking into that left arm, the left foot, lifting up with the left arm. And then both hands are going to come up this time, taking a deep breath in. Exhaling, bringing those hands to our lower back. Right above the tailbone, right into the sacrum, and just kind of pressing forward gently. Not a full camel, but just pressing forward for just an inch, and then bringing it back up. And then we're going to take a swan dive. We're going to find a little flow here. So swan dive, lifting up the chest to half lift instead of staying in forward fold. Bending the knees, reverse swan dive, coming up all the way. Fingertips touching, extended mountain pose. And then sweeping back down, swan dive to forward fold. Inhale to half lift. Bending the knees, exhale, bring it all the way up. Inhale, and then exhale, back to forward fold. So once you're in forward fold, if you want to come up to monkey and press the knees or the lower part of the knees down and away from your body, you can. Let's just do that again one more time. Inhale, the half lift. Exhale, back down. Inhale, coming all the way up. Extended mountain pose. And let's swan dive one last time down to forward fold. All right, you guys. So once we're in forward fold, let's check in with our body once again, like pressing the balls of the feet into the floor. Activating the Shuddha Bandha, throat lock. So we're dropping the chin to our chest. Eyeballs are towards the knees, nose to the knees. And we're dropping the crown of our head towards the floor. So right where our tiara would sit, right on top of the head. Pressing down towards the floor, relaxing the shoulders, letting the weight of those arms pull that body down towards the floor. Specifically, if you do a lot of sitting during the day, if you're at a desk perhaps, or you're able to sit at home, we're really trying to undo some of that gravity that's pressing on our bodies as we sit and stand all day. So letting the body fall freely towards the floor. So once again, keeping that throat locked, and we're going to nod the head yes, shake that head no. Giving ourselves permission to do both of those things whenever we need it. Saying yes. Specifically saying no, that's my demise, you guys, is not saying no enough. We're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to lift up the half lift once again, pressing the knees away from the body if you want to, or you can press into the fingertips towards the floor. So we're going to bend the knees a lot, dropping the hips, lifting up to chair pose. Hands can be extended, or you can bring them to prayer pose if that's more comfortable for you, whatever needs to happen. You can also balance on those legs with the hands. Sweeping all the way up, release that into our extended child's pose. Exhaling back down into forward fold. All right, we're going to do a modified gorilla. It's not modified, it's just a different version of it. If you don't want to put your hands under your feet, you can grab your big toe with your peace sign fingers and lift up. Or you can take your whole palm, press it underneath your ball of your foot, taking your toe all the way to the wrist. So your hands are flat underneath your feet. And then we're going to lift up. We're pulling up, bending the knees just a little bit, pulling up through that spine, feeling that stretch in the middle of the back. Hopefully that's feeling good. If it doesn't feel good, if there's any pain, sharp pain, any kind of pulling in the back, just don't do it. Relax back in the forward fold. And then we're going to release back into that forward fold, dropping the head one more time. All right, now we're going to take our hands and we're going to walk them out just a little bit on that mat, spreading the fingers out like starfish, pushing the heels of the feet back into the floor. And then we're going to drop that chest towards the knees, really activating our downward facing dog in all aspects. So the backs of the legs are stretched, but the knees are slightly bent. Heels are pressing to the floor. The head and ears are pressing down towards the biceps or lower. And we're pressing the hands away from your feet. So if you've ever put a fitted sheet on a baby crib or on a bed, I want you to think about using all of your limbs to put that fitted sheet on at the same time. So everything's pressing out away from the body in equal parts. We're going to lower down into our knees. And then let's go ahead and just rock back into child's pose briefly. So we're dropping into the child's pose, dropping your head to the floor. You may stack your hands, give yourself some support here. Or you can wrap the hands around the backs of the legs if you want to do that. So whichever child's pose feels right. All right, without coming all the way out of our child's pose, we're going to go ahead and thread the needle here instead of coming up on all fours. So you're just going to simply take one of those arms, Drop it all the way underneath your body, underneath that arm. And then open up that opposite side. So the head, the temple is on the floor, hips can come up. And you can either bind this around your leg, you can open it up, or you can keep that hand where it was to support yourself in either place on the mat. Really pulling into the middle of that back. So if you envision where your wings would come out, if you had wings, that is what should be stretching right now. That one little area. If not, press into that elbow a little bit more that's on the floor and open up that top hand. Taking a deep breath here. And rotate that hand around. Going back in, out the way we came in, and go to the opposite side. Dropping that shoulder to the floor. Rotating that upper body. Arm lifts to the sky, or you can bring it around on yourself, binding that arm. Really emphasize that little part of your back where your wings will come out. And rotate back around. Coming up onto all fours. We're going to make sure that the hands are directly underneath our shoulders. Making sure we don't pop the shoulders hyperextended and we don't sink into elbows hyperextended and we don't sink into our shoulders either. We're pushing the shoulders away. We're soft bend in those elbows, kind of like the knees in the downward facing dog. And then we're going to drop the belly button, roll the shoulders, or roll the tailbone upward, lifting up the throat, opening up that throat, and then rounding the back to cat pose. Exhale, tucking the tailbone underneath us. Inhale, opening up all the way up to cow, dropping that belly button as low as you can get it to go, and then rounding all the way back up to cat. Exhale. And then once again, going inhale to cow. Really curving that tailbone up. See if you can fan out the muscles in the glutes. And then dropping down to cat. Remember, the Shuddha here. We've got that throat lock. Dropping that chin to the chest. And release. And as always, we got to get all aspects of our spinal movement here. Very necessary to get all the right, all the left. Looking over that shoulder. Turning that hip towards your elbow. Not a huge range of motion, but it is an important one. And then once we're back into all fours, your spine is neutral, your belly is neutral. Let's go ahead and activate those barrel rolls. So the top of the body is going to be moving in a rotation, and the bottom of the body is going to be moving in rotation. Really making it dramatic, like overemphasizing that movement. Really making sure that spine gets all of those moves. And then reversing when you've done 3 or 4 on that side. And then back into our neutral spine. All right, so some spinal balance here, some lateral balance as well. We're going to take our hands, make sure they're soft and they're not locked down in the elbows. We're going to extend that right leg just about even with our spine, and then the left hand. So opposite hand, opposite foot, keeping the belly button facing the floor, keeping the chest facing the floor, trying not to sink into that bent leg, and then switch out. So extending that leg, extending that opposite arm, making sure that we're not sinking into that one supporting hip. And let's go ahead and do it again on each side. Making sure that we keep our knees underneath the hips. And then release. All right, y'all, go ahead and just set back into that child's pose for another moment, catching your breath. All right, checking in with that body, making sure you fill up the back body with air as you inhale. Spreading out those fingers ahead of your body, way outstretched. And then we're going to kind of come forward into a kneeling plank and then push back into that child's pose. Finding a little flow here. Breath is matching the movement. So inhaling forward to that plank and exhaling back into child's pose. Once you're feeling comfortable with that rhythm, if you want to add a little yogi push-up, that's fine. Getting those triceps into the game. And then once you're ready here, you want to come up into a full plank. That's also an option. Coming back into our child's pose or our downward facing dog. Coming forward, little chaturanga, and then push back into down dog. Really activating the shoulders and tricep muscles. Don't have to go down very far. And then we'll meet in downward facing dog when you finish with a couple more of those. Pressing those hands away from the body, dropping the head, dropping the face towards the floor. Oh, all right, let's come forward into our plank pose once again, guys. You can drop to your knees if you need a modification. Dropping down halfway, chaturanga or crocodile. Toes flatten out. If you're in kneeling pose, you can come all the way down to the floor and come up into baby cobra. But if you're not, you'll push out of that child's or that chaturanga into our upward facing dog. Knees are off the floor. And then toes curl under, push back to down dog. We're going to take our right leg, we're going to sweep it up behind us and come all the way forward. Dropping that back knee. Lifting up into a kneeling crescent lunge. Hands are going to come open. That back knee is pushing away from us. Hip flexor is stretched and activated. Sweeping it back down. Push back into that downward facing dog. Coming forward, inhale to plank. Exhale to crocodile. Inhale to upward facing dog. Good. Exhale to down dog. Sweeping up that left foot this time. Bring it all the way forward. Dropping that back knee all the way up. Ooh, crescent lunge. This is the hip. This is the one. This is the one that gets me right here. Ooh. All right, sweep it down. Push back into downward facing dog, you guys. Coming forward to plank. Kneeling plank if you need to. Coming up, upward facing dog or baby cobra. Inhale. And exhale back to downward facing dog. All right, so let's go through that once again. This time the right leg comes up once again. And when you bring it forward, you can choose to keep that back leg elevated into balancing crescent lunge, or you can drop the knee. Maybe add a little twist if you like. And back down, pushing back into our downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Plank. Inhale. Chaturanga. Exhale to that upward facing dog. Inhale. And exhale back to down dog. Left leg comes all the way up. Bring it forward, y'all. Take that knee, drop it to the floor if that's what you feel like needs to happen. Otherwise, coming all the way up into that balancing crescent lunge. Twist it if you want. And back in, sweeping it back down to the floor. Let's push back to downward facing dog. Walking those heels out. All right, y'all, once again, right leg is gonna come all the way up. This time when we come forward, plant that foot, anchor the back foot, pop up to warrior one, and sink into those legs. Front knee is pushing into that 90-degree position. Back leg is mostly straight, pushing into that back heel, turning the hips all the way towards the chest and the foot, everything pointed in the same direction. Sinking into that front leg, covering up that big toe with your knee. Deep breath in, let's open it up to warrior two, building strength in our base body. So we're really pushing into that stance. you need a break, you always straighten out, just come right back into it. Your body will tell you what you need. Pulling the shoulder blades back, sinking into the heels, activating Mula Bandha, so lifting up subconsciously, lifting up on the pelvic floor. Right hand is going to reach forward, sweep up and back, reverse warrior. Good. All right, back into our warrior two. We're going to straighten out that front leg, reach with the hand, push the hips to the back, and come down into triangle, pressing the top of the back of the hand, or the back of the hand, into your leg, or you can put some balance, some support on that shin, preferably not the knee, or you can use your block. Open up that left shoulder, really expand the stretch in the upper body as well as the lower body. And with every inhale, fill up the lungs, lift the chest, and as you exhale, see if you can sink down just a little more. Pushing that left hip behind you, like away from your body a little bit. Allowing your body to tell you if you can go a little further. Gazing up at that lifted hand. Breath is full here. Sink down one more time. All right, that hand is going to sweep all the way down. Bending the knee, turning the heels up. Toes are curled under, pushing into downward facing dog. Ooh, nothing like the warrior poses to get your sweat on. Once again. All right, we're going to take that right leg, lift it all the way up once again, same leg. Bring it towards those hands. And then walk yourself to the long side of your mat so that you're on the side of your mat. Elbows are sinking down. Hips are pressed back. The heels are pushing down into the floor. And then let's just drop into that straddle forward fold. Straddle standing forward fold. One more deep breath in. And as we exhale, let's just come up, hands to the thighs, pressing up all the way, sitting down into sun god. So much sweat. Pulling those shoulders back, hands are open, accepting, receiving, sinking down into that seated squat, almost like a plie. Those knees are pointed out. With the feet, the heels underneath the knees, so make sure they're not in a little too far. And then we're going to straighten back out, hands on the hinges of the hips, so we're going to drop back down into that straddle forward fold. We're going to walk our hands over towards the opposite leg, anchoring that leg, or both feet into the floor, and coming up into warrior one. Hips are once again pressing forward. Chest is lifted. Core is activated here, so is Mula Bandha. Really pull it up on that base of the pelvic floor. Bending into that 90-degree angle on the front foot, covering it up so you can't see that big toe. And then opening it up to warrior two. So my hips very slightly turn, so it's more of an open hip toward the side here. Breathing deep, looking over that left hand. Turning that hand just a little bit. We're going to reach forward, come all the way up, reverse warrior. Find your breath here, lifting up on that pelvic floor, making sure your base body is stable. All right, y'all, open it back up to warrior two. Straightening out that front leg. Reaching, pushing that hip back behind us, coming down to triangle pose. Opening up that right shoulder. So that helps me kind of rotate to a side position. And then with each inhale, I fill up. And as I exhale, we lower. So a bigger stretch. Stronger in those hamstrings and inner thighs, feeling those muscles. Allowing the breath to push you into that stretch. Get a couple more breaths here, go a little deeper. All right, begin to rotate around, bending the knee, turning the heel up, toes pushing in, and step into downward facing dog. Push those hands away from our bodies, press the heels into the floor. Big breaths here. All right, let's drop down into our child's pose. Take a little break, take a little breather, reset, grab a sip, whatever you need to do. All right, slowly we're going to come up on all fours and then into downward facing dog. Pressing up into the hips, hips lifting to the ceiling, tailbone lifting to the ceiling. We're going to bring our feet to our hands, however you want to do it, whether you want to walk it, jump it, float it, all the way up. Then bring it all the way up to a seated position for a couple of balance poses, which we skipped last time. And we still ran out of time, so I don't know. I don't feel like we should skip on this time. So finding balance in our lives, always a struggle, so we always need our balance, right? So starting with our most basic balance pose, our tree pose, great beginner pose, great pose to start with. We're going to bring our left foot either above the knee or under the knee or all the way to the floor, somewhere where you can find balance, but no pressure on the inside of that knee if possible. Hands can come at prayer pose at heart center, or you can hold your hands out wide beside yourself if you need the balance help. Taking a couple deep breaths here, finding a focal point with our eyes, something that's not moving. And we're breathing here. Noticing that the body wants to still move a little bit. That's okay. We're not statues. We're just balancing. Taking a deep breath in, lifting the hands up high above the head. From here, we're going to transition into a star pose. All you're going to do is release that leg and then tilt to the body towards that right hip a little bit. So opening the body kind of like an X. So it's a star pose here. And see if you can rotate your shoulders back a little bit. Thought I was losing internet, guys. I'm sorry, something just happened. Good, good with the star pose. It's because you guys were balancing so still. And then we're going to transition from here into a balancing half moon. So taking that right hand towards the right foot and opening up to a side position where you're flat from front to back. See if you can pull those shoulders, stack the hips, fall over a little bit. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And then come out of it. All right, so hop that out a little bit, bounce it out a little bit. And then we're going to find balance on the other side. So right side can be different than the left. Totally fine. This side might go a little higher. Your right foot can go a little higher this time, or maybe it goes a little lower. Maybe you feel like you know that this might be the side that needs a little help. Listen to where your body is today. Every day it's different. It's forever changing. Watch yoga practice. Oh, not like a yoga performance or something crazy. Yoga competition. Even with yourself, it's not that because we're changing all the time. So we're in tree pose. Breathing deep. Expanding that tree upward, extending it tall. Still breathing. Going from our tree pose into star pose, very simple. We just open up that leg and then hinge at that hip. So we're sideways like a star or like crooked, diagonal, I don't know. That bottom leg though is still bent, so make sure we're not locking it out. Pulling the shoulders back, lifting the chest, opening up that heart center. And then take a deep breath in. Let's rotate to our balancing half moon. Try to stack the shoulders, stack the hands one on top of the other, stacking that hip over that foot. Flat from front to back. Breathing here. And then bring it all the way back up. All right. I encourage you to jump it out just a little bit. Release whatever tension you've got holding onto your body. Another great one I love to do, a little Tai Chi work at work, is kind of a inhale up on our tippy toes, and then you slam it. Like you're inhaling, like you're grabbing a medicine ball, and you're slamming it on the floor, but you're following through with your hands. So lifting up, exhale. Another thing I like to do is I like to imagine that whatever it is I'm grabbing is all my stress. Like it's all of my tension, it's all of my anxiety, it's all of that crud, and I'm just smashing it. So the exhale has to be pretty powerful. Let's get one more, restore that nice big breath. And release it. Like the tension is like literally exploded all over the ground. It's done. It's out of there. You don't need it anymore. All right, y'all. However you want to get to a seated position, just go ahead and have a seat. All right, we're going to place our right foot on the floor in front of us, and then we're going to put the left foot on top of it. And kind of like a half lotus position. My legs will not do it, so just listen to my cues and you'll figure it out. But this hip is so locked up, it's not gonna. This is all I got today. That's okay. So your right foot should be on top of your left knee, not inside of it, but on top of it, and that foot is flexed to protect the knee. So if you're like me and this is not a good position for you today, you can bring that foot out front, totally fine, or you can even extend it the opposite leg and do seated pigeon here. Goodness, can't find my words. So what we're wanting though is we're wanting, you know, these legs to kind of stack a little bit. Y'all are probably doing it. Well done. This one's not, it's not happening. So I'm gonna bring mine out front. We're sitting up nice and tall, and we're gonna rotate towards that top knee. So we're gonna rotate towards the top knee slowly. Nice seated spinal twist. Lifting the chest, lifting the head. Using that forearm to press away from that knee. Making sure we're breathing here as those organs slowly adjust to that twisting position. One more deep breath in. Now we're going to extend that front hand. We're going to just extend it all the way up, bending into that right arm, lifting up through that rib cage, and then release. We're going to swap out our knees so that opposite foot is down on the floor. Top leg, toes curl back, stacking those knees if you can. If not, we're going to stick that leg right out front. Rotate towards that top leg, trusting that whatever limitations we've got today, our body is telling us those limitations are there for a reason. Sometimes we feel like, okay, I could go a little further. My body's telling me it wants to go a little further. But sometimes our body is like, please don't, just don't, not today. Taking a Deep breath in, lifting the crown of the head a little higher. And then sinking into that back hand, lifting up the right hand. Bending that arm a little bit, lifting the chest. Allowing your legs to fall open. And bring it back to the middle. All right, you guys, bring those feet in together. Or a little butterfly pose, grabbing those ankles, pressing the legs down. Kind of warming up those hip joints for our frog pose, which is coming up next. All right, release the legs, shake them out. All right, we're gonna come around onto our knees. Unless you're on carpet, and even if you're on carpet, you still may wanna do this. I find that a lot of times folding over our mat where our knees are gonna be is really a good little cushion. Doing that on each side for both knees. My mat's fairly thick, so I don't feel the need to do it, but if your ground surface is really hard, you may want to. And so once we're standing on our knees, we're gonna begin to walk those knees out as wide as you can. So think about as if you were doing the splits, but your knees are bent, okay? And then we're gonna bring our feet like a frog, even with those knees. Try to create a 90-degree angle in both knees. One other thing to keep careful, to pay careful attention to is also what happens here is our belly starts to sag like a cow pose. So try to keep your spine long and straight, pushing your shoulders away from your ears. And once you're in that frog pose, we're gonna just sink our hips back. Like you're trying to get your hips, your butt behind your knees, okay? So using your breath to control that movement, your body will try to tense up in your pelvis to protect itself. So if that's happening, take your breath, inhale, then as you exhale, see if you can direct the breath to those hips and relax those joints. Point your breath towards the hip sockets. Allow your body to relax in that pose. If you feel like you can come down onto your elbows. Your core is nice and tight. We're pushing back with the hips, breathing through those hips. All right, one more deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring those hands to the floor, push away from the floor if you're not already there. Bring your feet in first, then the hips go back, and then those knees come in. Ooh. All right. So have a seat on your bottom once again, and maybe just kind of windshield wiper those legs back and forth, loosening up those hips. Pretty aggressive hip opener. In my opinion, in some ways it's more aggressive than pigeon. Some days pigeon pose is more intense, but that one today is pretty intense for me. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and roll over onto our belly. Real briefly, coming down to a lying position. Extending those hands out in front of the body, squeezing the glutes, lifting the feet and knees off the floor, opening up that chest, pull the shoulder blades together. Y'all, there's like the tiniest little slug, like traveling down my flower pot. It is the cutest thing. It's so tiny. I don't know if it's a slug or a snail without a shell because it's got little things. All right, then dropping it down. Taking a deep breath here. Let's go into Sphinx pose. We're going to bring those elbows in towards our chest, closing the armpits. And then we're going to pull the chest through the biceps a little bit. So think about your body, like think about what would happen if you were on like a pommel horse and you're like bringing your body through your arms, right? So we're coming through the arms with the chest, activating the middle of that lower back. Squeeze your glutes and hold that, but don't hold your breath. Then if you feel like you can go from Sphinx into our Cobra pose, great. If you don't, if you feel like this is where you need to stop, that's okay. We're gonna press the hands into the floor, into the mat, walking them back. Remember, the glutes are still activated here. Shoulders are gonna pull down and away from the ears. Open up the heart center. Breathing deep. And then slowly pushing into our extended child's pose. Round out that lower back. Wrap your body around those knees or those thighs. All right, you guys, go ahead and come onto your back. Lie down flat on our back for a couple more poses, a couple more stretches here. I feel like I'm on a beat the sunlight clock, because as soon as the sun comes over this tree, I won't be able to see anything anymore. But we're doing great. We're doing great on time. So go ahead and bring those knees into the chest. Wrap those hands around your knees if you want to, or you can protect those knees a little bit further by dropping the hands behind your knees. Rocking that body from side to side. All right, we're gonna open up those arms nice and wide. We're gonna take the knees all the way to one side, dropping both legs all the way to the floor, opening up the chest. Try to press both shoulders into the floor. So it's a lying down spinal twist. If you want to take your head and turn it away from your knees, do a little extra. And then back into the middle, swapping those knees all the way to the other side, rotating that chin towards the other arm, away from those knees. Bringing those knees back into the chest. Taking those hands, 2 peace sign fingers, thread those knees through like a needle, and then opening up those feet, opening up the knees. Heels of the feet are lifting towards the ceiling, knees are dropping towards the floor, and then take your tailbone and kind of rock it down towards the floor so that it's not up in the air. You want a little more sensation here, taking it out just a little further to that straddle. It's also a great one to do if you have a blank wall in your house, so your legs up the wall with your legs straight up, your tailbone touching the wall, or open your legs like this with your tailbone touching the wall. So great for your back. So those of you that are nursing some back discomfort, it's also great for hypertension. It's also great for, well, basically everything. So you just legs up the wall. It's the simplest, and it's the greatest, one of the greatest yoga poses there is. All right, bringing your legs back into the knees, touching, and then back into that little egg pose. All right, y'all, we're gonna take the feet, we're gonna walk them out all the way to a lying down position for Shavasana. If you feel like you need to stretch anything else out, now would be a great time to do that, getting a little bit more stretch in if you need it. Otherwise, we're walking our bodies out to get a little final relaxation in before we go to the rest of our day. Hands are down by our side. Palms are up. Our feet might just fall open. Our hips and knees are relaxed. Belly is relaxed. Shoulders are down away from the ears. Let's smooth out our forehead, our eyelids. Soften those cheekbones. Maybe part the lips, unclench the teeth, and take your tongue off of the roof of your mouth, relaxing your jaw. All the way through to the backs of your ears, the backs of your head. Neck is relaxed. Taking a deep breath in, filling up the lungs and the belly. And slowly exhaling, allowing yourself to sink deeper into your mat, deeper into that relaxation. We're going to just pause for a moment here, challenging our breath to stay slow. Revisiting that intention from the beginning of your class. Giving yourself props for giving your body this time. Just breathing for the next few moments. I'll bring us back with the sound of my little cymbals, little chimes. When you hear that sound, that's when you can just kind of rotate over into one side for just a few breaths. And then come up into a seated position when we're done. So go ahead and just take advantage of this next few minutes, relaxing and focusing on your breath. And I'll bring us back. else, just go ahead and start making your way to that change of position, that seated position or that sideline position. Moving your fingers, toes, allowing your body to still stay in that breathing, that relaxed state. But just take your time. And taking a couple of deep breaths once you've gotten to that seated position. Don't know whether we're all there yet or not, but just in case you are, go ahead and roll your shoulders back. Taking a deep breath in, hands come all the way up over the head. Bringing those hands down towards that heart center. Namaste, y'all. I must have like a different yoga voice than I do other teaching voice because that dog has been passed out over by the door. But she was not. She was very worked up during my other class. So, oh, y'all, that was so good, y'all. I needed it. I needed it every time. I need it.